Welcome to Agents for Change Radio, where we do radio with a different style. I'm your host, Rob Bell. It seems to me that this situation in Afghanistan is a little fishy. Joe Biden wanted to do a great thing by pulling the troops out of Afghanistan who have been involved in a war for over 20 years. And as a part of some of the promises he made prior to his election, this was one of the things that he wanted to accomplish. And so he had a lot of stones and made the decision to make the move to pull the troops against a lot of people's wishes. Probably because a lot of people had some financial stake in keeping those troops over there as long as they needed to. At the expense of people dying, at the expense of people being away from their families, at the expense of soldiers experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder when they did get back home, at the expense of a lot of negative things. People had a lot of financial interests, troops. People had a lot of financial interests in keeping those troops over in Afghanistan. You know, if you are in the business of making tanks, ammunition, bulletproof vests, boots, uniforms, hats, visors, goggles, helmets, you name it, you want to have a stake in the thousands of troops that are there on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because it's a continuing funding stream for your company. And I'm sure a lot of people on the other side of the aisle have some investment in some of those companies, that are reaping the benefits of producing those types of goods for those soldiers over there. So, in my opinion, those are the folk who did not want President Biden to end this thing. You know, President Trump tried to do it, President Obama tried to do it, and they were unsuccessful in it. And so President Biden wanted to be the guy in the last few terms of the presidency to really come in and try to make it happen. And so he pulled the plug. Well, I heard on the news today that this is probably his darkest hour as the president of the United States. Probably the worst move that he's made so far in the midst of this pandemic with the Delta variant and him trying to get people to buy into getting this vaccine, and with the new booster coming out and people dying all over the country, and hospital beds are limited to people who are suffering from the COVID. He's being put out front for his decision to pull the troops out of Afghanistan. Just today, there have been some American soldiers that were killed because of a suicide bomber who breached the entrance of the Kabul airport in Afghanistan, and again, several people, including Americans and American soldiers, were killed. And so that in itself, in our estimation, is a fiasco, because the deadline is August 31st. I'm sure the president, as best as he could have thought, wanted to get out of this unscathed and have those troops get out of there unharmed. But the result is it just didn't happen. And so now he's in a quagmire. He's got to figure out whether he's going to extend the deadline. He's got to figure out whether he's going to put more boots on the ground. He's got to figure out whether this decision was something maybe he pulled the plug on too soon. And on one side of the aisle, he's got people saying, we want our children and our family members to come home. On the other side of the aisle, he's got people saying, Joe, you step too fast on this. You move too quickly on this, and you need to rethink it. So again, he's in a quagmire. He's in a difficult situation. My opinion about this is that Joe is being sabotaged, because we all know that this had the potential to blow up in his face. And the United States government is a crafty government, especially when it comes to politics and the nasty games that they've played throughout the history of this country. You know, we have to be crazy to believe that the United States plays fair in situations like this, and in situations where they want to make sure that their best interest is taken care of. And so they're going to approach situations with an even playing field. They're going to approach situations with a good heart in mind. And we all know that that has never been, maybe on its face, that has been how the United States has approached situations. But we know behind the curtain, behind closed doors, how the United States plays, and they play real dirty. And again, in my opinion, Joe Biden is being set up by these United States, by entities that I won't speak on because I may get myself in trouble if I do, that again have the best interest in mind in terms of the financial aspect of being involved over in Afghanistan. We all know that the poppy plant is very wide and prevalent over in Afghanistan. The poppy plant produces heroin. Nobody ever really wants to talk about that part of it. And heroin, again, is a drug that is permeated throughout the world, especially in the United States, especially in areas in the United States where people who are and have and do suffer from serious addiction from opioids. And as much as we want to believe that the United States is not involved in drug transactions and drug dealing, they are, trust me. With, again, some of the evidence that they've shown in the past with Manuel Noriega, with Ricky Ross, with Oliver North. We all know that the United States has a potential to be involved in the transaction of drugs. So why would we not believe that this whole poppy situation and heroin that is produced from the poppy plant is not attached to Afghanistan? We all know that Afghanistan is rich in minerals and rich in gold. And the United States wants to have some stake in that. And so, you know, as much as they wanted to purport themselves as going over there to fight justice and in the name of democracy, the underlying issue was they wanted to get some of that gold and some of those minerals, because the United States is a greedy country and always has been and always will be. I mentioned earlier about the fact that as a military, the agencies and companies that produce goods for our troops over there are benefiting and have benefited for the last 20 years by producing, again, tanks, weapons, helmets, uniforms, shoes, you name it. These companies have produced it, and they have made huge profits off of our soldiers over there in Afghanistan. And now you're talking about cutting that off. Well, we have lobbyists and we have people who are attached to this situation that are really not trying to hear that. So here you have a president that wants to come along and upset the apple cart. And, you know, all of a sudden, things are not looking good for him. You would think that as a country, the United States will welcome what Joe Biden is trying to do, but again, in the name of quote unquote democracy, you got folks on the other side of the aisle that's saying, well, when you pull the troops out, you're going to put those people in Afghanistan in harm's way. And after all these years of training those soldiers and putting those people in position to enjoy a democratic lifestyle, now you're taking that away from them. Well, I don't think people could give a damn about that, to be honest. Because as soon as the United States said that they wanted to pull the troops, all of the Afghanistan supporters of the United States and the soldiers that they trained put their guns down and said, if you're not going to be here to back us up, then we ain't fighting ISIS, or we're not fighting the Taliban, because we just don't have it in us to be able to fight these guys. And so, they felt like the United States was kind of hanging them out to dry. And to some extent they are, but they should have never been over there in the first place. So, that's where we are right now. I kind of, feel for Joe Biden because they're putting him in a very precarious situation. And he's having to spend a large amount of his time trying to wiggle his way out of this situation, especially because he's under this umbrella of this second pandemic with the Delta variant looming and people dying on a daily basis by the hundreds of thousands. And so he's got on one side that to deal with, and on the other side this Afghanistan situation to deal with. So, being the president of the United States and the leader of the free world, you have to take on a surmountable amount of situations, and this is probably in his tenure, it's definitely in his tenure, one of the most significant situations that he has to tackle. And so we're going to see how he comes out with this, and I hope for his sake he comes out of it okay. Because right now he is under the gun. And I don't know, and I don't see where he's going with this. Will he extend the situation from August 31st and move forward, or will he stay steadfast as saying he doesn't care really what happens by the 31st of August? Everybody that he wants out of there will be out of there, and everybody that gets left behind gets left behind. And so suppose that is the case and some Americans get left behind. How is America going to respond to that? And what will we say about, his humanity as an individual and in his humanity as a president? Will he leave our people over there to die because, the Taliban is hell-bent on killing anybody that wants to associate themselves with the United States. They hate us over there with a passion. And anybody that associates itself with the United States, as far as they're concerned, are the enemy. And they don't play around. There's no democracy over there. When they want to kill you, they will take you in the middle of the street and cut your head off in front of everybody and send a message and let you know they are not to be played with. And so that's where they are. So will we leave Americans over there? I don't know. We have to see. And so, again, I feel for the President of the United States. This is going to be a Herculean effort on his part to have to make this happen. My name is Rob Bell. I am the host of Agents for Change Radio. If you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to Agents for Change Radio. Make sure you press the thumbs up icon on YouTube and press the like button on my Facebook page. And more importantly, share this information with all of your friends and family, because we need this information to get out. And if necessary, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we need to support Joe Biden in this situation, because he certainly has himself in a quagmire. We'll see you next time.